RREGAM.com.
Thursday night preseason action. We've got the Washington Redskins at the Buffalo Bills. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined by Bryan Leonard. Bryan, preseason football, it's a handicap like no other handicap. You can't look at total strengths and weaknesses because you don't know for sure when the strengths and weaknesses are going to be matched up properly and who's going to play and when. We're looking at this line for Thursday night. Right now, the Washington Redskins are a 2-point favorite, and the over-under is 35. This game actually opened up, though. Buffalo is a 2-point favorite. You never see a 4-point move during the regular season, but that's not that uncommon in preseason action once people start to see and coaches say what their intention is, what the rotation is going to be. How do you approach preseason football? Is there any little things that you look for out of the ordinary other than, the obvious QB battles and rotation like that?
Well, first off, the number 3 doesn't have the importance as it does during the regular season because the vast majority of coaches just want to get out of this game without anybody getting hurt. So you're not going to see them trying to kick a field goal at the end of the game to send it to overtime. So that's your first thing you got to look at. So a lot of people, normally it's a professional bettor in the NFL, you're looking at the number 3. As soon as that line comes out, which way is this game going to go? Should I take the 3? Am I going to be able to lay the 3? But in the preseason, it doesn't matter as much. And we're talking about this game on a Monday. The game's being played on Thursday. So to be totally honest with everybody, I'm an information kind of guy, and this is too far in advance for me to make a statement unless I'm going to try to pick off a number. So a lot of the things I do, or is just the opposite of what I do during the regular season. When the regular season, as soon as those lines come out, when they're at their weakest, and that's when I want to take advantage of them. Preseason, I want as much information as possible. So it's a late week thing for me. I know a lot of guys like to look at coaching tendencies, and I know that you're going to talk about that. Every year's a little bit different, though. And, for example, this year, Buffalo is a highly thought-of team. Now, they ended last year, tanked the last half of the season. You would think they'd want to come out with a good performance, set a good tone for their team, but they're already being talked about. They made some off-season acquisitions on defense. They're being talked about as an improved team. I'm not sure the priority is there for them in this game. We'll see with Washington. I believe they drafted a quarterback, I hear.
They did draft a quarterback this year, Mr. RG3.
That's a strange name.
Yeah, it is, but it's better than saying Robert Griffin III every time. So we're going to go with RG3 like everybody else. Let's talk about Buffalo for 1 second, and you hit the nail on the head about tendencies. I don't know what it is about Buffalo, but it just seems like there's something in the water in Buffalo makes you don't give a hoot about preseason football. You're as old as I am, and I know everybody puts me as like I'm like 90, but me and you's actually the same age, so you're going to know where I'm going with this. There was another Buffalo coach that I made a lot of money in preseason football going against back in the day because he did not give a shit about preseason football. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. And Marv Levy was a great coach, until he got to the Super Bowls, 4 of them. But he never won in preseason. Didn't care, didn't mean a thing to him. So far, Chan Gailey, in his preseason career, 4-14 straight up in preseason action. 5-13 against the spread. A blind man can just follow that stat and make money going against Buffalo. On the flip side to that, we've got a guy in Mike Shanahan for Washington that's always been a guy that wants to win, doesn't matter when it is. His preseason record, 47-29 straight up, and against the spread, 42-32 against the spread with 2 pushes. So you've got one guy that's got a definite winning record in preseason going against a guy with a definite losing record. A lot of that could have been the quick 2-point swing that we saw. 4-point swing from -2 to +2. And they've already come out and said that RG3 is going to play with the first unit. And he's going to play 12 to 20 snaps. So that's going to be, should put you into, definitely 2 series, possibly 3 series for him to start the game with. In preseason action against running with the first unit, we want to get him used to the offense. I can see that, but it's going to be a little bit tougher for him to put up numbers against a first unit defense. And that's where Buffalo, with all this excitement that's coming out of Buffalo this year, it's the defense that they're excited about because that's where they made some of the wholesale changes. How do you think a rookie quarterback in his first game is going to look in preseason action?
Yeah, I've got some concerns about it. Maybe not so much for the starter, but for the backups. Now, Buffalo, they brought in guys that get in rush the passer. They could not sack the quarterback last year. They brought up some good guys to rush the passer. I would expect that to be a major emphasis in this game. The problem is Washington's got a quarterback that's very mobile. And a lot of the offense in this game is going to be based on his abilities. I mean, this is the guy, when you trade away 3 first-round draft picks and a second-round draft pick, you've got a lot invested in Griffin. And the one point of it is you want to get him out there, you want to see him play. But the concern is it's an exhibition game. They've had some offensive line problems. They got 2 of the guys that were supposed to start the season. One I know is out, and the other I don't think is going to play. So you've got some concerns there from the offensive line standpoint, and you're playing a team that bolstered its defensive line in defensive ends. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on the quarterback. But my most concern is you mentioned the amount of plays he's going to play. It's very early in the preseason. The teams haven't been in camp very long. They've got this entire offense built around Griffin. The backup quarterbacks are not Robert Griffin. What's going to happen in the second quarter and on when the backups are in the game and their whole game plan is built around the offense they put in for Griffin?
That's a good point, to consider there. We always talk about when a new offensive coordinator comes into a team, how it's a learning adjustment for the team. It's going to take them a few games to learn his system and such. So that's a very good point. And it kind of is going to, hurt me with where I'm going to go with this play on one end, but I'm going to let history dictate the second half of this play, because the easy play, obviously, if we go on coaches here and how they address games, is to take Washington and Shanahan. But the one thing that these 2 coaches have in common, even though one likes to win, one doesn't care, if you look at the over-under involving these 2 coaches in preseason football, Chan Gailey, in his 18 preseason games as a head coach, has gone over 12 of 18 times. Mike Shanahan, 48 overs, 28 unders. Now, Mike Shanahan's always been an offensive-oriented guy. So I'm looking at Robert Griffin here, and I see one of 2 things happening. He's either going to make 1 or 2 sensational plays that people are not going to expect him to make, and is going to could be a quick score. And in preseason football, these totals are so low. All you need is a couple quick scores, right, and then you always have that garbage time at the end where if you do get a quarterback in there against the second stringers, it seems like, we have it every year. Oh, my, that third stringer looks so good. And everybody's like chammering that he should get a shot at, moving up the depth chart. But he's going against third and fourth guys that next week probably might not even make the roster. So if you get some points early, you generally can get some points late too. But you also have the other end of the spectrum if he makes a mistake. And if he makes a mistake, it could be a quick 6 the other way with a mistake. One, on an interception, pick 6, or, a turnover, fumble deep in his territory. Anything can happen. And I just think that Shanahan is so offensive-minded that he's going to put this guy out there to try to showcase let's face it, they gave away everything, but the kitchen sink to get him. He's going to want to show that this guy's got some talent, and there is a lot of buzz. I mean, he's impressing people in camp. He's doing the stuff that, supposed to be. And let's go to Robert Griffin III. Here's a guy that was the number 2 pick that really thought that he was as good as the guy that went number 1. I mean, he's not modest, and, he's got a little chip on his shoulder. He wants to get out there and prove it that, he's just as good as Andrew Luck. So I'm going to go with the over in this game. I think that's the safest play here. I think we're going to get some points from the starters, and I think we'll see points later in the game when we get, into that late third quarter, fourth quarter garbage time points.
Yeah, for myself at this point, I can agree with you on the over here. As we all know, these teams don't game plan at this point. I mean, it's too early in camp. You usually don't see it at all, but if you see it, you'll see it the third or fourth game, usually the third game. But it's a situation where Buffalo doesn't know what Washington is going to do. You talked about new coordinator, new quarterback. They don't know the game plan of what Washington wants to accomplish here. That's an advantage to the offense when RG3 is in the game. But you go around the other side, take a look at this quarterback rotation for the Buffalo Bills. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Vince Young, Tyler Thigpen. I've always been a Thigpen fan. And these are guys that have started in the NFL. They've had success in the NFL. A lot of people say that Vince Young is really downgraded over the years, and maybe he has. But for an experienced area, when he's up against second and third stringers, you've got to feel he's going to be able to move the ball.
Absolutely. And there's also that kind of unwritten law in preseason football where, you know, you're not going to come with your complete blitz packages and stuff.
Tell that to the Saints last night.
Yeah. Tell me, when you saw that hit, what was the first thing that went through your mind? After everything in the summer that we've endured?
Between that, the hit, which knocks out the starting quarterback, and at the end of the game, where the game comes down to the last play of the game, the NFL's back.
NFL is back. So NFL's back. We're back. We're going to have some more football action later in the week. This is the time I get excited every year. You know, I know people don't like preseason football, but it's, you know, we got that long haul of baseball. And don't get me wrong, I love baseball, but nothing's as exciting to me as football. I mean, want to watch every single game that I can possibly watch, sit there and just get all my snacks lined up on both sides of the chair so I don't have to move and just watch football all day.
Well, I do want to point out, I'm on Twitter a lot, and between the baseball game last night, Cardinals and the Brewers, and a good show on 60 Minutes, but also the football game, I'm on Twitter, and everything is talking about the most insignificant things in the football game, and it's just blowing up. It's football season.
It's football. Football is king, guys. All right, there you have it. My play for Thursday night, my first official play here on the videos for the 2012 football season. Take the Washington Buffalo game over 35. I hope it's the first of many winners this year on the videos, and we'll be back. It'll either be me and you or me and VR later in the week. We'll get the schedule, and we'll look at the weekend action. So stay tuned to pregame.tv all week long. Good luck, guys. We'll talk to you later in the week.